Hi there, my name is Devansh and I'm the lead tutor at FinTutors. I'm sure you would have already been on the channel and gone through a lot of our CIMA related explanations, but this video is specifically created for the upcoming strategic case study exam. So, are you somebody who's taken the exam and is apprehensive as to what to study, how to study it? Because the syllabus area is vast. There is the entire E, P, and F syllabus. So, what should I study? I have limited time. What should I focus upon? This video answers your question on a very simple level and shows you the direction that students must take. So, we have identified the top exam issues, the top exam questions that do often come up, and we have gathered the same as part of one video, as part of one document that we will share with you. And these are CIMA favorite topics. These are topics that often come up in the exam. Everything that we have analyzed and we have presented as part of this video is very well founded because we are CIMA registered and accredited tuition providers and have been delivering pass rates over 80%. So everything that you see in this video is well thought of, well presented, and I am sure that you're going to find this entire series helpful. Before I move any further, I'd like to speak about my free case study mini course. Now, this mini course is specifically created for students that want extra help, don't know how to start their study, want a direction to follow. So, this mini course is absolutely free and it's available to everybody who's studying CIMA. We have whole lot of material that is available for you: the industry analysis, the introduction, how to study, the pre-scene analysis, what the blueprint areas are, the important points, your personalized study plan. We have a free mock exam as well. All of this is part of the free case study mini course. It's absolutely free and I will leave the link in the description below. You just have to click on that link. It will take you to our website and you can access the free mini course. It will give you a whole lot of information about specifically the strategic case study exam that is coming up. Now to come to the exam topics. How do we develop and accumulate these topics? You may be wondering, right? How can you figure out 10, 11, 12 areas which will be asked in the exam? First and foremost, we focus on the pre-scene. The entire pre-scene analysis that is done by us is very detailed, and when we go through the pre-scene as tutors with the years of experience that we have, we try to find out the problems with the company, the areas that can be asked in the exam. We overlap them with the E3, P3 and F3 syllabus, and we try to pick out the underlying theme. That helps us develop important areas or important questions that can come up in the exam. And then we create our own mock questions around the same to give our students practice. So we focus on the pre-scene from very many different perspectives, and we obviously use our experience and expertise to pick out exam favorite topics and present it to you in a way that you can understand, that you can follow. Now we have identified 10 topics that are key, that do come up in the exam often. We've presented them in a list of 1 to 10, but that doesn't mean that the first topic is the most important one and the 10th topic is the least important one. No, the topics are not chronologically arranged. These are just 10 areas or 10 topics that we feel can come up in the exam, and all of these are important. Without further ado, let us begin. The first topic that we discuss for our strategic case study exam important topics discussion is scenario planning. Now, this is a concept that is often asked and is part B from your core areas. Now, if somebody is new and just wondering what the word core areas means, I'm going to link my explanation on core areas or the blueprint areas released by CIMA. It'll be somewhere in the description or I'll just flash it on the screen. It's available on YouTube, so you'll be able to see it. But just to summarize, CIMA has broken down the strategic case study exam into different core areas. And these core areas are nothing but syllabus areas from E3, P3 and F3. So if we speak about scenario planning here, it falls under part B of our core areas, just to showcase to you that these important topics that we have gathered are ones which are part of the core areas released by CIMA, plus they are topics that often come up in the exam. So it's not something that we have just found out of the blue. It's already been identified by CIMA as a core area, but we give you a specific topic, a specific area to look at. So what type of questions come up? Now, scenario planning is a pretty broad topic. So what type of questions come up here are, analysis questions or evaluation questions, where they ask you that, my business is looking to invest in a new machinery, for example. How do we deal with this machinery? Scenario 1 is this, scenario 2 is this, scenario 3 is this. Can scenario planning be used, and the benefits of scenario planning? So you will have to evaluate the one or two scenarios given in the question and then showcase how scenario planning for any business is valuable. So 2 or 3 different scenarios are often given, and we need to evaluate which scenario would be best for my business. Thirdly, whether scenario planning could be used to evaluate any kind of synergies, any kind of project decisions. Can scenario planning be used for evaluation purposes? That is also asked. Whether scenario planning could be benefit for my business or not. This is directly part of your E3 syllabus. So you must know what is scenario planning, how to use scenario planning, the steps in scenario planning, the usefulness of scenario planning, the drawbacks of scenario planning in your own words. These are things that you must be able to answer in your own words. Think about the pre-scene company and imagine how scenario planning could be used by visualizing different scenarios. Now, when you do the pre-scene analysis with us, it's going to be very detailed and comprehensive. While you've done the entire 2-3 hour pre-scene with us, we will point out different areas, different avenues, different scenarios. So while revising this topic, think about different scenarios, think about different situations for your company, and then use your E3 knowledge, the technical knowledge, to supplement your answer. Speak it out loud. See if you're able to convince yourself with an explanation. That is how we study scenario planning. Important topic number 2 is raising capital need for funds. So it's the question of funds, the question of capital is always going to arise for any business. That's going to happen in the strategic case study exam as well. So the concept that we are discussing here is raising capital. This is part C of your core areas. When you are doing this important topic explanations, you can just have the blueprint A, B, C, D and E areas in front of you so that you know why raising capital falls under part C. It's clearly highlighted in the blueprints, but to make it easier, you can just have the blueprints in front of you. They are released by CIMA. It's available on the internet. It's available on our website, mini course as well. Just to showcase to you that yes, we are picking out topics from the core areas only. So when we speak about raising capital, the first thing that comes to my mind is growth using debt or equity. This is a common exam question as well. So for this, you will have to understand your business's current status and current potential. So when we do again the pre-scene analysis, we do an entire financial analysis as well. In that financial analysis, we'll showcase to you the current equity ratio, the debt ratio, the gearing ratio of the company. After knowing that, you will be able to suggest whether the company should go for further debt, further equity, and that's the raising capital circle that we are speaking about. So recommendation is often asked. You must know the different methods of debt finance, the different methods of equity finance. They can also ask a very simple question on how we can raise finance for a new acquisition. You could be asked to look at different alternatives for raising finance. your ability to maintain the current dividends, reviewing that current dividend policy, suggesting a new dividend policy, because this is part of the capital circle, right? Next, predict the share price reaction if you go ahead with a certain project. So evaluation can be asked. They'll tell you your share price is this. What will happen if you go, if you invest in a new project? What will happen if you start a new division? So you must know the beta of your company, the beta factor I'm speaking about, and the current share price along with common business acumen. So all of this is part of your F3 syllabus. Now what the approach that we take is, first we give students the time to go through our E3, P3 and F3, very summarized notes and very directed learning. Then we do a detailed pre-scene analysis. Then you are already seeing this topic wise highlight that we are doing. And then finally we make our students write mock exams. So just imagine you know the company well, you know these topics, you've studied them from your E3, P3 and F3 syllabus, and then you actually write a mock exam under timed conditions, which is going to be marked, checked and corrected by my team. Just imagine your level of preparedness, because you'll be prepared for anything in the exam, because you are doing questions on a wide variety of topic in the exam scenario. So you are developing your confidence as well. That's the approach that we take. Write, or rather learn, evaluate and then write. So this is part of your F3 syllabus. Just knowing the topic is not going to help. Knowing the topic and then using it and then relating it to the question that is asked, that is where the competency lies, and that is what we recommend our students to do. So knowing different debt instruments or equity instruments is key. You must also know your different dividend policies. Knowing what beta means is also key, is part of your F3 syllabus. And over here you can be asked to look at at some numbers, at some tables, extra information, and then you have to provide explanations or evaluate the same. So knowing the basics of each dividend policy, of each debt instrument, equity instrument, is something that we must know for the strategic case study exam. Part 3 of our study is ethics. So it's a very important and common exam topic that comes up. I always say to my students that this is a subtask or an area that will come up in the exam, and this is a chance for you to score very good marks, because we'll give you a template to follow. So this is part D of our core areas. Often questions come up in this segment and they revolve around ethical or unethical behavior, which you have to pick out and then explain why is it unethical. What can you do to better that situation? So would it be ethical or unethical to enter into a new project when a certain scenario is created? Ethical implications of entering into a new venture when a certain scenario is created. They'll tell you this is the scenario. Is it ethical for us to go forward? They'll tell you this is the project that we are looking to invest. Is it ethical to go forward? Ethical issues may need to be discussed. So a very straightforward study here is your CIMA Code of Ethics. The CIMA Code of Ethics is vital, and no matter what ethics question comes up, you can quote the CIMA Code of Ethics and revolve your explanation around the same. When a student writes mock exams with us, we test them on ethics and then we'll showcase to you how an ethics answer needs to be written, so that you do not lose any marks in this easy question or in this easy subtask. This is straight out of your E3 syllabus. We cannot lose marks here. So your CIMA Code of Ethics and your ethical safeguards, which are in your E3 syllabus, must be known. Next, we have important area number 4. This area deals with all kinds of decision making that is asked from the strategy perspective in your core area A and core area B. Now, strategy is a very important word for the strategic case study exam, obviously, because you have been given the role of a senior finance manager. And a senior finance manager always is involved in strategic decisions in taking the business forward. So I will link the video where I've explained more the role of a senior finance manager and what you're supposed to do in a strategic case study exam. I'll link that. It will be available on the screen somewhere or in the description. You can view it. It will be very informative while viewing this video as well. So what type of questions come up from this particular area? So strategies for growth need to be discussed here. They can ask you, our business is going or looking at this particular segment, expanding into this segment. We need your valuable opinion. So strategies for growth need to be discussed here. They may ask you to make a strategic decision. They can give you 2-3 alternatives, ask you to choose the best. They can give you one alternate. They can ask you whether we should take this strategic decision or not. So your ability should be able to deliver a clear vision. Thirdly, you can be asked to deal with different kind of stakeholders and suggest resolutions. How can we deal with those stakeholders better? Fourth, you can decide which method of expansion we need to choose. Should we go with an acquisition, a merger, organic growth? Dealing with divestment is also asked because you are the senior finance manager. This falls under your remit. Next, this is further expanded into the concept of synergies. Because when you're speaking about acquisition, divestment, disposition, you always think about synergies. What you can do if two companies combine. So what synergies mean and what the different kind of synergies are, you should know. Last but not the least, you should be able to analyze the external market, the internal market for your business. So you must study the Pestel analysis and the Porter's 5 forces for this. All of these are direct studies from your E3 syllabus which are vital. For growth, you study the Ansough's matrix. For strategic decision making, you study the SFA model. For stakeholders, you study your Mendelow's matrix. For synergy topics, you go through your E3 syllabus. It's right there. For your external analysis, you view your Porter's 5 forces. So these are layouts or just ideas that we've given you which you can study. So if a question comes up on these topics and you've already written a mock exam with me, just imagine the level of preparedness that you'll have in the exam. That's the entire purpose of these important topic lists, and to showcase to you these are the areas that exam questions come from, and we will test you on the same when you do mocks with us. Important area number 5 deals with the digital aspects or the digital areas of your syllabus. This is core area A and B again. So what type of questions come up in the digital aspect? First and foremost, we'll speak about big data, because when we go through the pre-scene as well, in our detailed pre-scene, we give insights and highlights into what and how our company can use big data, the possibilities, the benefits, the drawbacks, but the same can be supplemented with your P3 and E3 studies. So what could big data's strategic implementation mean for my business? How can my business use big data strategically? How can you better the experience of your customer using a digital system? How do you make the life of your customer easier and then eventually they choose your product over the others because of digital aspects? So how can you use the digital ecosystem, the digital aspect? And we speak about this throughout the pre-scene, but this is available in your E3 and P3 concepts, and you must study the same because yes, these questions are asked in the exam. Next core area is topic number 6, which is internal audit. This is your core area E. This falls in the blueprints E section. This is one of the most important topics that do come up in pretty much all strategic case study exams. So what type of questions can you expect? So the role of internal audit in an organization is very, very important and clear to know. the benefits of having a good internal audit team, the limitations if you don't have a good internal audit team. Next, the issues in internal controls. So, what types of internal controls are present? What could be the suggested internal controls that you put in place? So, for this, you'll clearly have to know what are internal controls and what are the different types of internal controls. Linking to internal audit, we have types of audit risks and types of audits. They often come up with question that what are audit risks, what are the different types of audits that we can conduct. Appointing a new head of the audit committee, and hence you may need to discuss the scope of the audit committee, the role of the audit committee, the role of the internal auditor, or the role of the head auditor. They can ask you issues with the internal auditor, issues with the external auditor. How do you deal with that? So internal audit is a remit, and rather the entire audit part is a remit that is pretty much asked in the exam for sure, and that is why you must revise it directly from your P3 syllabus. It's a very technical aspect. If you've revised the aspects, you will be able to, give a very good answer. And obviously writing skill will be required, which will help you develop with all our mock questions. So the internal audit chapters need to be covered here. For internal audit and for the entire E3, P3 and F3 syllabus, we create specific learnings for our students, which means from each chapter, what must the student know from a case study perspective. We try to limit your knowledge with more directed and more focused study. Topic number 7 is risk management. This is part B of your core areas. So risk management, again, a question or a subtask that does often come up. So what type of questions come up? They can give you a business scenario and ask you the types of risks that you see or can arise for my business. How can this risk be mitigated? How do you manage that risk? So risk management is often asked to explain. They can give us a list of risks. You need to identify how each risk could be managed, could be mitigated. And because we speak about risk, cyber risks are also important and also something that a company in today's modern world faces. So how can you protect your company from cyber risks? So the cyber risk management framework becomes important here. Different types of cyber risks becomes important here. The TARA risk management method becomes important here. All of this is in your E3 syllabus. As you would have been seeing, E3 is the backbone of the case study. It's a very important pillar for the case study. You must start with E3 revision first. After you're done with that, you can move on to P3 and then F3. Side by side, studying the pre-scene, side by side, solving mock questions on the areas that you have completed, so that you're not leaving yourself less time to write mocks at the end. Important area number 8. Over here, we're speaking about hedging and exchange related risks. So this is specifically related to your hedging, to foreign exchange risks, foreign interest rate risks. These are the areas that are discussed here and a subtask which can come up on this. So this is part A of your core areas. What type of questions come up? So risks related to currencies, straightforward question. To ensure foreign currency trading with volatile markets do not impact cash positions of my company adversely. So they will not ask you to calculate anything. They will not ask you to, show a calculation for anything, not at all. They will ask you to simply explain in your own words. So for example, they'll say that we have to pay a supplier in X country. Their currency is, Z dollars. How should we go about paying them so that we can minimize our currency risks? You should know the different hedging techniques in your own words. So your forward rate agreement, forward contract, something that you should know in your own words, you should be able to explain it in simple business perspective. Same way, risks related to interest rates, how can this be managed? So same, interest rate swaps, interest rate options, all of this just simply you should know in your own words so that you are able to suggest and explain when the time comes. Next, arguments related to currency risks, where home currency weakens, foreign currency rises in value. They often say this, that your home currency is weakened, foreign currency increased in value. What does this mean? How will this affect interest rates? How will this affect inflation? You could be asked to explain the same. This is straight from your F3 syllabus. Economic variables and how they can affect your business. Often a question comes up. So this is part of your F3 syllabus. We must study currency risks and hedging, and interest rate risks and hedging. This needs to be understood in your words only. I do not need any calculations or anything that needs to be solved using a pen paper. No, you should just know each instrument, their characteristics in your own words. So each hedging category should be known with their characteristics in simple words. That is all that we require here. Now we have business oriented questions. So these overlap between many different core areas. It's not that you can study this from E3 only, P3 only, or F3 only. No, it's an amalgamation of all three. So what type of questions come up? Remember, for the strategic case study exam, only 25% of your marks are based on technical knowledge. The other 75% is simply based on your business ability and your writing ability and your writing convincing skills. So give importance to that when you are practicing mocks, and that's actually the entire reason of why we make students write mocks, why we ask students to write mocks, so that they have a better business oriented approach when the time comes and when they're sitting their exam. So common questions here are tabular analysis. They can give you a table, they can give you different ratios, ask you to analyze that particular company or that particular situation. They can ask you to deal with stakeholders. Any business scenario can be given saying that, these are two companies or two products or two directions that we are looking at. How do we go about the same, or what is your suggestion? Then the IR framework, the GRI guidelines, which is newly introduced into your 2019 syllabus, often comes up. Performance appraisal can be asked. How do you appraise the performance of an employee or a department? How do you motivate your employees? How do you keep your employee satisfaction at a high level? All of these are simple business type questions that do come up, but to answer them, one of the major abilities should be to know the pre-scene very well, to know your company very, very well. So this is vital to answer business skill oriented questions, or any questions for that matter. Key stakeholder analysis is part of E3 syllabus. IR, GRI is part of, again, E3 syllabus. Tabular analysis can ask you knowledge from different areas of E3, P3 and F3. But at the end of the day, it's reading the question, analyzing the question, and then giving an answer which your mind will be trained to once you have done 25 mock questions with us. That is what we make our students do. Topic number 10 is corporate governance. So this is part of your core area E. Corporate governance questions do come up in the exam. So corporate governance principles need to be known here. Straight away, your UK corporate governance code is something that you must clearly know what the categories of the code are, what the code prescribes, what the code asks companies to do to follow good governance. That's something that you must know. That's something that you should be clear with. So often issues come up when an extra director is added to the board or the board of director leaves. What will be the implications and what we should do to stick to good corporate governance? They often ask you this. So what is the role of an audit committee, the remuneration committee, the nominations committee, the risk committee? That details can be asked. This is directly part of your P3 syllabus. So these are the 10 topics that we feel are important. When we do our mock questions, we test a whole bunch of other topics as well, along with these important topics to give you a wholehearted preparation towards this exam. With that, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you have found this helpful. What I will now request you to do is, we will leave the link to our website in the description below, or we'll flash it on screen for you. So you can visit the website, you can visit our SCS page. The mini course link is already with you, so I would request you to enroll for the mini course. It's absolutely free. You'll only learn from it. There is nothing to be lost. You will only gain knowledge. You will only gain direction from it. All you have to do is follow the direction, follow the instructions that we have given, and I'm sure that you're going to find the entire series helpful. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you on the other side.